right, folks. I was just reading a headline or two here. Also, let me check something. All right, so the numbers came out this morning for CPI, month over month, year over year, core CPI, month over month, and unemployment claims. So here are the numbers. CPI month over month actually came in less than expected at 0.4% versus expectation of 0.6%. CPI year over year came in at 7.7%, which is less than 7.9%. The expectation. Core CPI came in at 0.3%, which is less than 0.5%. And finally, unemployment claims came in greater than expected. Now, although these numbers are in red, they actually, in our current situation, are not a bad thing because the inflation basically came in lower than expected. That doesn't mean inflation is low. It just means that it came in less than expected. So, in the during the time where everyone was chasing inflation, during the period after the financial crisis, any low numbers of inflation that were less than expected were considered bad. In the current situation, numbers that are less than expected actually are technically good. So, however, the impact of these will be that with inflation moderating a bit, that does give the Fed incentive to basically believe that what they're doing is working as far as raising interest rates. And it probably is, although I don't know if it's going to be enough. Unemployment claims going up. Technically, that's bad for the economy, but that's what the Fed actually wants to happen. They want unemployment to go up. So all these numbers actually are affirming what the Fed's doing. Now, the market may believe that this will be enough to slow the Fed's pace of raising interest rates. We have FOMC member Mester speaking at 12:30 and member George speaking at 1:30 today. These are both Eastern time. So based on what they say today, that will give the market some degree of confidence of whether these new numbers are actually softening the Fed's stance or if they're keeping the Fed on the same track. So we'll see. All right, that being said, if we look at the markets right now, the SPY is currently rising very quickly, the SPDR ETF. Okay, so you're not seeing on the chart here because this is not including the pre-market or post-market, but you look here, the SPY closed at 374.15 yesterday. It's currently 385, 386. Basically 386 is the current general price that it's trading at. We don't see the time and sales data here because, again, this is not a NASDAQ symbol, so therefore we only see the quotes, but we don't see all the other data. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is the market responded very positively to this news, which doesn't surprise me. Because the faster inflation comes down and the faster unemployment starts to go up, the faster the Fed can actually stop raising rates. This is true. Based on their own plan, based on their own actions, based on their own statements, that is a fact. So the markets did like this news, which is why the SPY shot up so quickly. And that might mean that we're in for a bullish day today. So we'll see. But as of right now, it looks like the market is more inclined to go up. Based on the sharpness of the move up pre-market, I would suggest that this might be a good indication of where things are going to go today. Or at least that they're going to be more inclined to go up than down. But we'll see. Sometimes after the news, the market, you'll get the initial reaction of people buying and then they sell. But I think this one is pretty clear cut that it is basically news that should reaffirm that the Fed, that what they're doing is working and they don't have to increase the rate. The Fed's not going to want to uh, push interest rates faster than what they need to, because obviously if they do it too fast, then it's going to actually collapse the economy. So the way it looks now, that information seems to be positive. So we'll see. All right. Anyway, so looking at stocks, let's first review yesterday's pre-market watch list. Okay, obviously some other things come up after the market opens, but let's look at them. So pre-market, we found the following stocks. And let's go in the order of how they performed overall. So first we have Mara. Okay, now Mara yesterday ended up trading 2.45% higher during the intraday from its opening price. It's not a big gain, by the way. That's a small gain, but basically started right here, or sorry, right there was where we started, actually right there. And it went up at first, then it came down. So let me make this larger. So we started right here. We went up. We went sharply down, we rebounded again, and that was it. So this one, from here basically to there, was the range it ended in, but it did actually trade up sharply at the open. So this one was definitely a chance after the bell. Okay, the next one is MAC, which didn't really do much yesterday. It just stood still. So MAC, I wouldn't say it was a good trading opportunity yesterday. It just had a pullback, and then that was it. Didn't do anything for a long time, and then just kept going sideways. So there was never really any strong buy signal here. One of the reasons on the pullback, if you bought in on a pullback, down to about there, that's fine. But after that opening pullback kind of entry where you're expecting it to fade first, so you get par your entry up here somewhere, let's say here, and then you get your second entry somewhere down there. This, may not have gotten close enough, but somewhere down here would have been appropriate. So you would average in somewhere around here. And then once you've done that, the only thing that happened basically is eventually it went back above that average entry price, but it never advanced. So you just traded back and forth over that all day. So this one pretty much was dead after the first move up. It wouldn't go any farther. So there would be no reason to stick with this all day. Basically by the time this reversal started to happen, it's pretty clear that it's not going to proceed. So you either wait for it to do something later or you just get out. Me personally, I would get out of that. There's no reason to hold all day if it's not doing what we want. Okay, so no luck with MAC. Now DWAC, let's go to that one. That did actually have a little bit of action later. It did start to come up here, but the open, it was already opening below the first standard deviation, so you don't want to try to average down into this. That's not the idea. You only average down if it gaps up, right? So it has to go up first, then you expect a pullback, and then a reversal, which is what happened on the 7th. We didn't get that on the 9th, which starts right about there. Instead, we just got a fade at the beginning. Then it came back in. I wouldn't consider this a buy signal here, but right around there, in this area here, that's the only time I would consider buying it, and that was around 2.5 hours into the day, and you just had a quick run up, and that was it. Didn't really go anywhere. So this one didn't do much either. Novavax basically started today and did a very quick pop at the open. Okay, so here it is. Nice big run up at first. Then after that, as it pulls back, doesn't really recover, just keeps selling off, keep selling off, keep selling off. So there really wasn't any buy signal in here, except for at the open, which I did mention it. But you would have to have caught it like right away at the open. So if you didn't, it's too late. So this one did start to run very quickly. It was already in our list. It showed up on the radar, but nevertheless, it didn't move fast enough. Didn't have a second chance. And therefore, no hope there. Okay, so this one also sold off. Now, this is a shortable stock, I should mention. Novavax is shortable, so if you decide to short sell it, that would have been a reasonable play because it did look like it was going to fade after a while. So roughly around, in my opinion, it was roughly around here, then especially after it just sells off here, that you would be pretty certain that the trend is now reversed and going to go down. So if you took a short opportunity here, I would say that was reasonable, very reasonable, because it did look like it was going to reverse. I've looked at this one different, from different perspectives, and it all looks the same. Like after roughly 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, the downtrend starts to become abundantly clear, and by the time you get to about 10 o'clock 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern, it's overwhelmingly clear this is selling off, right? So if you took that as a short, no problem. Remember, we can go both long and short. I usually look for stocks that are going up because usually you get bigger moves percentage-wise for the type of stocks I look for anyway. But if I see something has a really big rise at the beginning of the day and then completely turns the corner and goes the other way, especially if the market's doing the same thing, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with short selling. Usually when we look pre-market, we don't really find a lot of stocks that look like they're really going to keep selling off. And I always prefer to sell stocks after they've made a big rally. I don't usually like to sell things when they've been going down for a while. Because basically you're getting into the trend very late and eventually it's going to end anyway, so earlier the better, right? Okay, so let's see. Next we had Array Biosciences. Now this one, ARRY, RRY. This one did do the right, well, actually no it didn't. This one just sold off right at the beginning. So as I mentioned, that didn't look too confident at first, so I did warn that probably this one's not the best one to try to get into, simply because once you flush like this at the open, that's pretty clear that you don't have any real buyers there left. So this run up here, while it did move us back almost to the high, it's not surprising this actually didn't go any farther. Now, it didn't completely sell off, just to be clear. It went down to this low, and basically we closed the session near the low of the first 5 minutes. So it did maintain most of its gains, if you think about it. It opened way up here, but this is basically where it stopped, which is still way above where it was yesterday. So this is just consolidating its gains, and we have to figure out where it goes next. But the opening of this was too strongly bearish to believe that it's going to keep going up. So hopefully most of you caught that and didn't run with it. But as far as the way I usually look at it, if this is the opening price and there's really no action above it, and most of the action by far is below the opening price of the day, then that's a pretty clear sign the stock doesn't want to go anywhere. So unless it can really turn around and start pushing past that opening price of the day and start to tread some new ground up here, you don't really have a trade there. So if the market opens and it trades substantially above that opening price and then starts to pull back, that's different. That's a much better situation. But this one just really didn't do much to signify that it wanted to go higher. All right, so this is a shortable stock, however, interestingly enough. So I wouldn't say the short is here. This is a great example why you want to wait until something's coming off a high. So at the beginning, it happened so quickly you wouldn't really have had much of a chance to sell. unless you're really convinced it was going to sell off and you just sold at the open. But after that, the only other time you had a potential opportunity to short sell was after this rally here. Then it starts to break down. This is a much more difficult place to short sell. So I wouldn't recommend trying it. Then when it got down to here, it didn't keep breaking down. It actually found support, started to rebound. But based on the action at the open, although technically we could look for buys in here, I wouldn't. It didn't really look as determined. I prefer against something that goes sideways for a bit, then starts to recover. More like that move here, where it's been down for a while slowly, and then it starts to go up. But by that time, it's very late in the day. So most likely there's not going to be much to gain from doing that late in the day. So I wouldn't even try it. All right, so that one didn't really do much. And then TTD, the trade desk, this one basically is a great example of a stock that had a good move overnight, but again, as soon as the bell rang, it just sells off, right? Just like Array did. So both of them just gone. No real chance, no real action. So these didn't present good opportunities for any type of buying. As far as selling is concerned, TTD is easy to borrow. This right here, although it would be tempting to try a short sell here, I usually look at the amount of volatility in the bars, like how big they are, how wide the ranges are first. If I see that the bars are in really wide ranges, even if it starts to break down here, I'm expecting it's going to sharply move back up. So until things really start to settle down and then fade away, which is happening here, that was the only really good sell signal. Now, I don't think this one really was. Even though it did lead to a later sell-off, I do think that this was the beginning of it here, and then finally things calmed down enough where they just sold off. So try not to take any trades in general when things are moving extremely large ranges in one short period of time. That's not a good idea. Wait for them to kind of consolidate a bit and then start to trend. So in this case, it couldn't keep going up. It couldn't maintain the gains from the previous day. And then right around here in this area, that's where things start to settle down. Then they start to sell off. So that was actually a very good sell signal here. And it just slid off. And then after that, you had a rebound. I wouldn't take a long there. Some people will, but I don't like trying to buy something after it's been selling off for that long. So unless there's some much more obviously large amount of buying interest that's coming in, I would just skip it. So, and plus it's late in the day anyway, so the only real opportunity was right there, the short sell. Okay, so for most of the stocks we saw, they were more short selling opportunities after the big first rally, and you had a couple that did move up, but not by very much. All right, now as far as what moved yesterday, I'm just going to go over some of the stocks that did. So just going down a list here and seeing if I can find anything that looked very interesting yesterday. Sorry, let me resort this list. Yeah, yesterday was pretty bad. You had some stocks that were moving, but none of them really stayed up for long. I did see a couple that did, but most of the stocks just sold off. So yesterday was definitely more of a short selling set of opportunities than today. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, SoFi looks like something's happening pre-market. SOFI. This is actually very active pre-market, so let me see if there's any news. Not much. Says they're gonna participate in an upcoming investor conference, but that's it. Nothing big. But currently it's trading at 520. It closed at 496. it's not a really big move. And oh, actually, we're not talking about. That's just moving with the rest of the market. That's just the movement from the numbers that came out this morning. So yeah, never mind. SoFi, that's just moving because of the numbers that came out this morning. Now, a lot of stocks that are down might actually do pretty well today. So we'll keep an eye on them. Like Lyft might be an opportunity this morning. It was not yesterday. It's still been on a slide down. But it's possible this might recover hereafter, so I won't write it off completely. But so far, we haven't seen any recovery in that. We did see, for TripAdvisor, we did see a rebound of that, but not, so we saw like a rebound on the 8th, on the 9th, on the 8th. So TripAdvisor did continue to rebound. But that's about it. That was on our list for a while. So let's see what else we got. Just looking for anything that seems to be doing a lot more than just going up because of the numbers that were released this morning. But pretty much everything looks like it's just moving based on the numbers that were released. None of these stocks look like they're doing anything more than any other. So we'll see at the open. I mean, maybe if the market is bullish today, then we'll have a lot of stocks that are going up. So just have to see which ones look like they've got more positive interest than not. But as of right now, let's have a long list of stocks that fit within that criteria. All right, so let's look at what's moving. All right, we got apps up 30%, APPS. Okay, that one is it was actually already up after earnings, and now it's up some more after that economic number release. So apps was up from earnings post-market. So this one we'll definitely say is on the radar today. Now, apps is not currently it's not doing anything more than what the rest of the market's doing, but it did have that big leap overnight. So we should keep an eye on it. MGNI, let's see. Also up over earnings. So I'll leave that on the watch list as well. Wait a minute. Hold on for a second. Is that a... Yes, a NASDAQ stock. Yeah, okay. MGNI. Okay, again, post earnings. The rest of these aren't really looking that impressive. Let's see, Datadog. I'm guessing that was 11%. Probably that was based on. Oh no, actually I don't know. Datadog was already up pre-market, and then it's up some more. But post-market yesterday, then it's up some more. So this Datadog looks like it's moving for other reasons, not just the bullishness in the market. But we'll see. I won't put it on the radar now, but I'll keep an eye on it. The volume's not very high, so I'm not convinced that there's a ton of people trading it. All right, skipping down to VRAX, which is currently trading 1.6 million shares today. It's only up 9.49%, but very active. So let's see what may be going on here. There was a big post-market spike. All right, they announced the closing of a $3.8 million private placement on the 8th. But that was it. So that was a couple days ago. So I'm not sure why this is active right now. But it looks like there's some serious interest in the stock this morning. So I'll put that on the radar since the volume is active. I don't see an exact reason why This is moving at the moment. So, all right, Hudai, this one, lots of volume, but not a lot of movement. Recently, at least, it's been mostly constrained in its movement. So I'm not going to put that on the radar for this morning, but it's still on our list and it's still active. But that's all I can say. Yeah, none of these. Billy, Roku, they all look like they're just a little active now, but nothing special. Like I said, Lyft does look like you got a lot of people trading at pre-market, so I do think we should keep an eye on Lyft. I don't know what to expect this morning, but I do think it's worth eyeballing. It looks like we got some serious buyers, but again, the rest of the market is up pre-market as well, so maybe this is just a bunch of people, covering shorts or something like that. I don't know. So can't say that looks like a very strong opportunity right now. For Lyft, that is. Okay, I mentioned SoFi. It's moving with the rest of the market, but 3 million shares, there must be something else going on. That's a lot of trading activity pre-market, so I don't think that's just pre-market movement. So based on that, I'm going to add that to the radar. It's just a lot of volume pre-market, so much volume that it looks like something's up. So it's over 3 million shares that have traded so far. That's bigger than what probably Apple has done this morning. So that suggests something's up. So we'll keep an eye on it. SoFi at the open. All right. Yep. Apple's at 2.6 here, so SoFi has traded more volume than Apple pre-market, which is saying a lot. So there's probably something going on there. And Lyft, I would just say, looks active, but I think that we'll see at the opening bell if it really looks that good. So I don't think it's worth paying extra attention to at this point. Lyft, that is, but we'll see. Let's look at the stocks going down. Veru is now down 61.36%. So this stock has been getting hammered. It's currently trading, holy cow, it's trading at $5.81. Yesterday it closed at $15.01. Another good reason why you don't want to hold stocks like this overnight. Of course, you won't be able to do that as a proprietary trader anyway, but this is one of the reasons why it's never a good idea. Stocks that make really dramatic moves up, they always are vulnerable for dramatic moves down. So let's see what happened here. So VERU, here it is. Reported late Wednesday, Veru provides update on FDA advisory committee meeting regarding emergency use authorization of one of its treatments. The FDA committee voted 8-5 that known potential benefits do not outweigh the known and potential risks. So basically, the FDA ruled against their treatment. Their treatment was for COVID to treat hospitalized COVID-19 patients at high risk of acute respiratory distress syndrome, which of course would be a good thing if it works. But the FDA basically is saying the risks outweigh the potential benefits in this case. So that's always devastating. So Veru is now getting destroyed. Now, you would not have been able to short sell that, by the way. The FDA news came out and the stock gapped down overnight. So you basically, either you were in it or you weren't, So if you were already short the previous day expecting that to happen, if you, not as a prop trader, but as an individual trader, maybe you would have made some money there. But this stock is hard to borrow, so you wouldn't be able to short sell it anyway. So don't expect Veru to rally unless some retail guys go crazy and start buying the stock for no good reason. But that uptrend is definitely over now. Okay, so that one got completely destroyed. Okay, EQRX, another symbol that's been moving recently. Waiting for some quotes to show up here, but looks like it's down. Presently, after earnings, it's down to 490. So it's below what we can see on the screen. So it says down 55 cents, which is correct. So this one's slightly down after earnings. I'm not sure if this will be a mover, but I'll put it on there since it is after earnings and it's moved substantially already. But I don't have any expectations on that one at the moment. Okay, so DWAC I'll skip. Mac, I will say to keep an eye on Mac. This one still has the potential to rise. But I'm not going to say I expect much, but I just want to keep an eye on it since when it does start to move, it could be substantial. All right, other than that, none of these other stocks look that interesting. Or at least not right now, yeah. All right, so that's everything as far as the stocks that are already on our hot list. Payo is actually up a significant amount. It's up about $1. Let's see if there's any news on that. Earnings. All right, Payo is up on earnings. It also did have a decent run yesterday, so I'll put that on the radar as well. Not trading any significant volume right now, but since it did have earnings, I'll still add it to the list. All right, so that's about it for stocks that I'm already aware of. So I think right now would be a good time to investigate stocks we could potentially add to our list. So I'll do a little research here on the Madison platform. Let me see here. All right, so I'm going to look at what's had some positive money flow. Pretty much know most of these stocks already, but not all of these on our radar. Fresh Pet, never even heard of these people. Let's see, Fresh Pet Inc. Well, it looks interesting. I'll give it that. Well, this one I'll add to the hot list as a potential. It does have some good metrics, but doesn't mean it's going to do anything. Sorry. So I won't put this as something to watch this morning, but I will add it to our radar. Let's see, that was a NASDAQ stock, right? Yeah, NASDAQ, okay. FRPT is the symbol. I like to periodically add stocks to my overall list. Anything that looks interesting, looks like it's got something happening, this in general. So what I'm looking for specifically Of course, this is on the Madison, MadisonTradingSoftware.com on their. This is the Madison. I should say our site. So basically, this is the platform me and my other company have put together for research purposes. It's not a trading platform; it's for research. But basically, what we have here, I'm looking for. There are 4 boxes. I'm looking for something with any technical score, but I want there to be a very strong score for what's called the inner circle. Basically meaning that you got a lot of green showing up in that section, meaning that institutional buying is happening. It was already on, but just in case. And then I just look for a certain ratio of buying activity versus selling, a decent amount of volume each day on average, and a certain price range, at least $3, and it has to be on the NASDAQ. So not every stock's going to fall into those categories, but basically I'm looking for a stock that has institutional buying activity that's evident, that's clear, strong institutional buying activity, something that has a strong ratio of buying versus selling, a lot more buying than selling as far as, market order trades. There's more people buying than selling. It has a certain price range. So all of these meet the criteria. Of course, very no array, but I'm just looking through other stocks that are on this list. Ideally looking for things that have a lot of green or not a lot of red. So Enphase has been on my radar for a long time, and this one still looks good. So I think that's already on the list, but just in case, it should be on the list already. Yeah, it's already there. So that one I did not need to add. Sega, Ali. Oh. This one might be, I think I added this already the other day, but that does look like, sorry, that looks interesting. Yeah, that definitely looks interesting. Yeah, that looks very interesting. Okay, so this one, I think it's already on the list, ASTL, but just in case, I'll add it to our general watch list. Nothing that we need to watch this morning, but just something to keep on the radar for later. See, Lantheus Holdings, never heard of it. Good earnings. This one might be on the, I would say this has a very high probability of rebounding soon. So, yeah, that one I would definitely add. LNTH, I don't think that's on our list yet. Now it is. Yeah, that doesn't look too interesting. What was the other one? Ollie. No, that doesn't look too interesting. All right, we already got Payo, so that's already there. Shoals, let's see. That doesn't look too promising. There, look at Sega. Sega does look interesting. It has a good range of movement. I'll put that on the general list. I think it's already there, but I'll add it anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is already there. So, all right. So let's see what else I can find. That looks interesting. ACMR looks like it's trying to rebound, so I'll add that. And again, I'm looking for stocks that have had a pretty good performance recently, but I still want to keep it to a certain set of stocks. So they basically have to look like they want to go up. So ACMR does. What's this? Ever quote. I don't know about that one. Rover Group. Okay, that might be interesting. That looks like it's got some momentum going. Doesn't trade in a very wide range, but it does look like it's going somewhere. Definitely a lot of institutional buying. That looks very attractive. So I'll put that on the radar. This doesn't look like a lot is happening now, just gradually going up over time. So I'll keep that one on the list. Fulcrum Therapeutics. Let's see what that is. Well, it has had some pretty big moves recently, so I don't know. This one I think, I don't know. This one I might add, but I don't know. Let me see what this. Well, okay, maybe. Median target $27. Okay, yeah, this one I would add. I mean, it's got some pretty high hopes apparently out there from the analysts. So this one probably will be a mover at some point. So I'll add that to the radar of stocks overall. And again, I'm just looking at the profiles. I like to see a lot of green, green and yellow. I try to avoid anything that has a lot of red. Doesn't mean like a stock could have a lot of red on these ratings and it still could do very well, but usually you get more follow through in stocks that have more green, so they actually have some reason to go up anyway, and then they catch the right news and they start to fly. $29. Yeah, this one looks interesting. VCYT. All right, I'll add that in. And then let's see what else we got. All right, TMDX. I'll actually look at Nerd. Well, I think NerdWallet's already should already be on our list. That one I've definitely been following. Okay, that looks interesting. This one looks like it's an interesting player. So TMDX. I'll definitely add that. All right, and what was the last one? NerdWallet. Should already be on our list, but just in case. Actually, yeah, it's already on the list, but it's not doing much, so I'll leave it alone for now. All right, I'll say that's it for additions. So I did find a few stocks that look interesting, but that's about it. So we'll see how we open this morning. We've got about 12 minutes until the bell, so I'm just going to grab some water real quick, wait till the bell rings, see what happens at the open, and then we'll go from there. Also, a lot of you have asked about when the regular broadcast will start. That should be starting next week. So you'll be getting some alerts on that. You should be getting your platform set up too. Well, pretty much 99% of what I do is on Madison Trading. It is my company, so I'm part of that company, part owner of it. So that's what it was created for, to do research. But you can do research other places. For example, CSI Market. If you really want to dig into details, you can go here. This is a lot of information. It's not as summarized. Basically, that's one of the things that these are more like, how do you say it? These are more like more open, like large amounts of data. So, today's stock market winners, things like that. So if you want to find something new, you can go here. If you want to just get a good summary of a stock, I would say FinViz is probably your best bet. Financial Visualizations, FINVIZ, very popular site. So let's say we bring up TMDX. Okay, so TMDX, there she is. Summary of a lot of metrics, short float, insider transactions. So you could do a lot of research here. And in the past, this is what I usually went to do a quick overview of a company. But my experience probably has been this. I used to use Bloomberg Terminal. For those of you, I don't know, some of you may know what a Bloomberg Terminal is, some of you may not. But Bloomberg is like one of the two top tier research platforms out there. The other is Reuters Icon. Those are like the two. And Bloomberg is a massive data portal. It has like pretty much anything you can imagine for data is in Bloomberg Terminal. Of course, Michael Bloomberg, the former governor, I forget, was he governor or mayor? I forgot. Mayor of New York. He, I think was he the mayor or the governor? I forgot. But anyway, Bloomberg was the creator, the founder of that. That's where he makes his billions from. And Bloomberg Terminal is like awesome. No question about it. So if I want to know if a ship has left the dock in Greece with all the toys that it's supposed to have, I can find that out on Bloomberg Terminal, right? Now, for that reason, Bloomberg Terminal is not cheap. It costs, at this point, it costs on average about $2,500 a month. So I've used it at that price, and I'll just be frank about it. If you're using it and you're paying that much, you better have enough money to justify it, which I did, or at least I had a reason to use it back then. These days, could I still use it now? Sure. Would it still be worth it? Not as much. Basically, for what I usually do, I don't need the amount of data that has. So Bloomberg is like, if I were to be overseeing some massive fund, that's in the financial markets and it's in like currencies and bonds and all sorts of things, then yeah, you would need that. I would need that at that point. But if I'm just focusing on stocks, there's enough information. So what Bloomberg does well and Reuters is they have these settings which are designed to streamline your workflow, as we like to say. So when you're doing your research, you want something that can present it to you in a format that makes it easier for you to see how things have changed, how they've evolved. So when I look here at Finviz, for example, it says the performance for the week is 11.99%. So that tells me something, right? It tells me the insider transaction is negative 38.62%, 6 month change in ownership. But what I don't like about this is it's basically a lot of snapshots in time. In other words, like I can see what the price, a PE ratio is now. But if I want to know how the PE ratio has changed over time, what is a good PE ratio for this stock? It doesn't tell me that. I just see a number, right? So what we did with the Madison platform is we designed it, the information here is designed to be a tracking. So in other words, if I go to valuation, I can see what range the PE ratio for this particular stock has been in. If it's in green, I know that that's a range where typically buyers show up. If it's red, that's typically where sellers show up. So since it's keeping a history of it, I actually have a sense of where I'm at. So to me, like it's just like when you look at a chart, a price chart of a stock, you can see its price history, so you know what it's been doing. So imagine you didn't have a price chart, you just saw what the price is now, what the high, low, and et cetera. And that's it. You don't know how it's evolved over a period of time. Not too easy to read what to expect out of that. So if you can see a trend in something, that's different. So that's what this is all about. Like, so if I look at fundamentals, I'm looking at the trend of sales. Like, is it improving? Is it not? I'm looking at analyst targets. I'm looking at how they've changed over time. So these are the sort of things that I would look at. So when I say something looks interesting, what I'm basically saying is based upon my knowledge about what moves stocks, which is really what you should be interested in. Like what are the drivers of a stock? On the Bloomberg terminal, they actually have a function called drivers, which is there specifically for that reason, where they have the artificial intelligence in the platform analyzing data and basically telling you what are the data points that typically influence the stock price. Good thing to know. So larger investors like fund managers, they have to invest when they can't look at a chart and say there's an uptrend or downtrend, so I'm going to buy. That's not what you do. If you're a fund manager, you're buying in because you've done research on something. You have a sense of where things are going. You know where a good value point is. You know what to expect in the future for the value of a company. So you start to buy in. Your heavy buying is what creates the trend. So that's why when I'm on this platform, one of the reasons I like to screen for money flow, and I look at it in several dimensions, is because once I take a look at money flow, I can see up volume versus down volume. I can see whether institutional volume is increasing or decreasing. So if I see that there are large scale buyers coming into anything, that's already a clear indication of which way that stock is eventually going to go. So that just gets it on the radar. What we do here on the True Edge platform is we now look at the movement in real time. We say, okay, yeah, I got this stock on my list. Maybe it's going to do something, but when? So once I start to see something move, okay, now I'm interested. And then I compare it to the NASDAQ. Since we're looking at NASDAQ stocks, I want to see stocks that can move more than the NASDAQ can, that are not as dependent on the market. So in other words, the more a stock is aligned with the market, the less we want to look at it. So anyway, Finviz is a good source. I mean, it's good raw data. You just have to know what to do with it. It's not going to just tell you what this means. You just kind of have to figure this stuff out over time. Another source is macro trends. If I go here and I type in, let's say Apple, okay, This gives me a list of things I could look up on Apple: gross profit, operating income, etc. Now, I admit most people don't know much about these metrics. So most of us are not analysts. So when we look at something like this, and someone will say, okay, well, figure out what the future price of Apple should be if it follows the same trajectory of revenue growth and earnings growth, then you're going to say, oh, yeah, how do I do that? But that's what the major players in the market, the ones who actually move prices, that's what they're doing all day. They're taking numbers, they're taking observations, and they're projecting into the future what's going to happen to a company. Now, for us as traders, we're trying to exploit their actions. We're looking for ways to jump in when these guys are likely doing something that will move a stock, right? So we're trying to look for those reasons, those situations where buyers might come in or sellers. Like, for example, Veru sold off, VERU, because of the failure. It's not, didn't get approval from the FDA. That is a guaranteed reason to sell a stock, right? That's fundamental data. So that's a driver, right? So if I know about that, then I can actually do something about it. Other places to do research. You can go to places like Yahoo Finance, Google Finance. What I don't like about Yahoo Finance is Yahoo Finance is very loaded with fluff. There's a lot of things here that don't really mean anything, but they're going to be there. So in other words, for example, this says fair value, Apple is overvalued, and I can view the details, and they'll tell you why, but it's not really that important. Anyway, markets are now open, so let's take a look at what's moving. Okay, so far we've got apps. Let me go to that first. Okay, apps so far looks like it wants to continue. The volume's climbing very quickly, so this one looks like a strong starter. Okay, as always, if you're going to get into this, you just have to get in and then average down. We don't have the full metrics yet for where the second entry point should be, but we'll have it in a second as the VWAP finally catches up. So this one looks like a runner today. MGNI, definitely moving quickly. So that one also looks good for now too. So both of these look like they're doing what we expected them to do. Datadog looks good. Wasn't really my top contender, but it does look good now. VRAX, no, I would leave that one alone. VCYT, looks interesting. So MGNI and apps are definitely the top picks right now, no question about it. So let's just PPS was number one. All these are moving after earnings, mostly. Most of them are. MGNI was second place. VREX not really doing anything. SoFi, let's see. SoFi right now, looks like it's trying to go up, but I wouldn't say it looks great. Okay, EQRX. EQRX not doing anything. Mac and Payo. Alright, so apps, GNI, SoFi. VREX and Mac. All right, so far, the best performers are MGNI first place, Apps second place, Payo third place, and this is from the opening bell. This must, I guess this got halted. VCYT may have been halted here. It's not moving anymore. So I guess it was halted. So that one, I would definitely keep this one on your radar, VCYT as well. That one's now definitely on the radar. All right, so let's go back to MGNI. Still trucking along. Let me go to a 1 minute view. Starting to pull back a little bit. See apps. Apps not slowing down at all. So for these, it's fairly early in the session, so if you're going to take a stab at it, just go for it now. Both of these are still trading in about the same range they started, and they may continue, but always average down. Don't put all your eggs in at the one price at the higher end. Expect to pull back at least below the low of that first 5 minutes of the session, which we've already just covered. So for MGNI, that means we should get a pullback at some point. It's just below the VWAP here. So maybe down to $7, right? That might be where I would put a second order. And then for apps, similarly, well, this one might pull back even farther, down to about 1330 or so. So both of these look decent. MGNI looks like a stronger candidate. All right, back to Datadog. This one is also trucking along, but I don't think this is doing anything that impressive. It looks like it's just following the NASDAQ right now. So I don't know. That one doesn't look like it's terribly bullish. All right, VCYT still trucking along. This one, keep it on the radar, but I don't think we have an entry point for this yet. This is really far up, so I would not get into this while it's way up here. Let it calm down for a bit and then see if it starts to resume its movement. Coupa Software looks fairly good, but again, looks like it's just moving with the NASDAQ. All right, folks, so you got two pretty good ones at the top of the list. I've already put them out there. Just follow those. Keep an eye on them. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. And once we get the room up and running, the regular broadcast, then I'll be here for a few hours each morning, so we'll have a chance to look over what's moving. Just remember, guys, the purpose of me in the room is not to give you trade signals, is to alert you to opportunities where you're going to trade based on either a strategy you already have or you're learning some of the techniques that I teach in the videos, right? So I'm just going to make sure you're aware of what's moving so that way you can potentially grab some profits. Finding stocks is always the hardest part in my experience, by far. And I do have one other stock right now that I didn't put out earlier because it didn't look strong enough, but I think actually I think might be something. Actually, two stocks. Two. All right. These are two other stocks before I go. Redfin, RDFN. That's on the radar now. Okay, not something that showed up earlier, but it's definitely visible now. So that one's on the agenda as a potential trade. And the other one I want to put on there for right now is TGTX. That looks interesting as well. I don't think I already put that on, did I? No. TGTX. Okay, so Redfin, I'll just make sure that's in our list. And TG, no, it wasn't. TGTX. Now that's on our list. Okay, so I added those two. Keep an eye on them. Both of those look like they've got more going on than just being up with the NASDAQ, especially Redfin. Redfin looks like it's got some news. Let me see if I can find out what it is. Yep. Piper Sandler raises their price target. Analyst ratings go up on Redfin. So, yeah, a lot of big raises after earnings, of course. So this one's definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, folks. Hey, what's up? P, what's going on, man? How's the day? Long time. You gonna be in Chicago anytime soon? Man. No problem, guys. Okay, I do have to log out here, guys, so I will see everybody tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there, okay? Take care, folks.